Hello, everyone. I want to do a quick video on the second essay on the Greeks, Plato and Aristotle. What does it mean to be a Platonist when it comes to ethics? What does it mean to be an Aristotelian when it comes to ethics? So the words Platonist and Aristotelian here just mean, how did Plato approach ethics? How did Aristotle approach ethics? So those words, Platonist and Aristotelian, are very fundamental words in the history of philosophy. So if you look them up, I don't think that that's going to really help you, and I would actually discourage it, because Plato and Aristotle had comprehensive philosophies of which their moral philosophies were only a part. So I don't think that wading through all that stuff is what I would have in mind for doing it. I would rather just, whatever a Platonist is when it comes to ethics is however you read the Meno, and what it means to be an Aristotelian when it comes to ethics is however you read the Nicomachean Ethics. That is, you've read it, or you should have read it, right? I mean, the first step is to read it. Okay, that's going to really help your essay, is to really read the readings. And then you're going to decide, how did Plato approach this thing? Really virtue. How did Aristotle really approach this thing? Really, the good. If you read the first line, and that doesn't even matter. It's really it's a free interpretation on your part of what it means to be a Platonist. That is, how did Plato approach the subject in the Meno? It's a free interpretation of on your part, of how did Aristotle approach the subject in his Nicomachean Ethics. So, first of all, don't worry about it being correct in terms of terminology. I don't want to be misleading there by the use of terminology. I like the terminology. Platonist just means according to Plato, or a follower of Plato, and Aristotelian just means, according to Aristotle, or following Aristotle. And those words are good to have. Are you a Platonist when it comes to ethics? Are you an Aristotelian when it comes to ethics? They're fun to have. But I don't want to be misleading in thinking that you have to somehow be correct according to the secondary sources. I don't care about those. All I care about is your interpretation of Plato and your interpretation of Aristotle. So you should feel absolutely free. And so, what does it mean to be a Platonist when it comes to ethics? What does it mean to be an Aristotelian when it comes to ethics? How did the two of them, separately, approach the subject of ethics? And then, which approach do you most favor? Which do you prefer? Which do you think is the most fruitful, or the best, the better? It doesn't have to be the best. You don't have to wholly agree with either of them, but which do you agree is the better approach to the general subject of ethics? How should we be looking into ethics, like Plato did through Socrates and the Meno, or like Aristotle did? So it's your usual two-step kind of essay topic, where you present, you give an account of some material you've read, and then you deliver a criticism of it, some arguments about it. Now, I said don't worry about whether it matches up with the usual ideas of Platonism or Aristotelianism that are in the dictionaries and the encyclopedias and on the internet. That doesn't matter. But what does matter is the second part there. You see, your accounts of the Platonist and Aristotelian approaches should be based on your reading, right, of the Meno and the excerpts you read from the Nicomachean Ethics. Okay, don't base them on secondary sources, please, because that would be boring. If you gave me if you gave me an account that was basically based on the Wikipedia article or some dictionary of philosophy or encyclopedia of philosophy on the internet, that would be boring. I mean, I want to read what you have to say about the text that we read together. That's interesting. You giving me a, a summary of the Wikipedia article on Plato's Ethics. That's boring because that's not what it's not what you took the course for. It's not what I want to see. I mean, I want to see first of all, I want to see your grasp of the text, and I want to see your ideas. And if it's all based on secondary sources, it's not going to be good. So, read the texts, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to feel like you're totally in command of the text. It doesn't. The subject or the assignment doesn't really ask you that. It asks you what it asks you. What does it mean to be a Platonist when it comes to ethics? That doesn't mean you have to understand every detail of the Meno or Aristotle's ethics when it comes to being an Aristotelian. You're just making a judgment. What, in your opinion, I mean, how do these thinkers approach the subject of ethics and morality? That's a decision you make, but based upon your own reading of the text. And what does it mean to be a Platonist? Don't worry about whether it matches up with what the general idea of Platonism is. It doesn't matter for the purposes of this essay, especially. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, I mean, I want to just stress the second part there. Your accounts of Plato and Aristotle should be based upon your reading of the text for this course. I'm not going to tell you not ever to look at a secondary source. It's really none of my business whether you look at a secondary source. But if your whole essay is based on secondary sources, it kind of shows up. And if it's based on secondary sources that are fairly superficial, like encyclopedia entries, like Wikipedia is fine. Wikipedia is great for a lot of things, but it's not great for being a foundation for an academic essay in college. It's not meant for that. It's an encyclopedia entry. And generally, I would avoid secondary sources. Again, am I going to tell you not ever to look at a secondary source? No, that's your business, not mine. But what I would really like to see is evidence that you're looking closely at the text we read for the course, and that's what I really want. So, as far as Platonism, Aristotelianism, I take a very relaxed view of that. Like I said, it's your interpretation based upon the text that I want to see, not whether it matches up with scholarly opinion. So again, if you have any questions about this, please, any continuing questions about this essay assignment, please let me know.